Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back into First and 12. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you on your weekly check-in on Big 12 football. And the college football playoff rankings are out, and it just lets us know that, man, we're getting close to postseason football in the college football season. There's 3 Big 12 teams in the initial playoff rankings by the 12-person committee. BYU at 7, Texas Tech at 8, number 13, Utah. I think Cincinnati had a case to be, 24 or 25, somewhere in there. But, hey, ultimately, you're in the back half of the playoff rankings. You're not sniffing the bracket.
Oh, yeah.
So
no, at that point, it's just a boost of the ego.
Yes.
If you can sneak in, but you should still feel slighted if Tennessee's 6-3 and they get ahead of you and you're going, what gives, man? But it is a little bit of an indicator. I wonder how much the College Football Playoff Committee even talks about those 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Like, who cares?
I would love to know the reasoning. And it was interesting, just kind of a side note on those rankings. No group of 5 teams. Are we getting to a point where we're letting go of a trial balloon to say, hey, this is an all-power conference playoff world? I know that there's going to be a group of 5 team in the field, and that would be Memphis. If the poll extended further, the playoff committee will have rankings for those teams. But it was interesting to see no group of 5 teams, because typically there's always been a Boise, or when BYU was an independent, there were teams outside the power structure working their way in. That's not happening anymore.
No, and it makes no sense to me, because it's almost like they're going, well, we know we got to put them there at some point, but I guess we'll – but, like, they won't even put a placeholder, right? Like, for a team like Memphis, who, frankly, has done well this year.
Yes.
And by the way, you have a handful of these teams that are all in this conversation of going, hey, man, what about us? And you have these again, it's an insult, I think, to put a Tennessee team in there with 3 losses and to just throw them a bone at 25. Like, what? So were they sitting around, watching this thing revealed tonight at their facility going, hey, good job, guys, like the old, like, reveal shows that they do for, like, the college basketball, bubble watch. All this. I don't know at what point, why don't you just put a Memphis at 25 just to say, hey, Memphis is right there, and by the way, they would be the team that we think would be the group of 5, champion, the highest ranked, other conference champion. And then they do this thing where they go, well, we know, we'll put them in there. And so when you see the actual bracket itself, and that's the part to me that's actually kind of interesting, when you look at the bracket, at what it would need to be or what it would look like today, it's very interesting to see BYU hosting Notre Dame down at LaVell Edwards Stadium, Texas Tech hosting a Big Ten team in Oregon. So 2 Big 12 teams in this setup right now, and I know it will not play out to be like this, and I'm certain that there are people in the committee and the powers that be and people in the southeastern region of the United States who would not like to have 2 Big 12 teams hosting first-round games. But I say to those people, like, aren't you happy with the fact that you're probably inflated a little bit too high to be number 4, Alabama, to be where you're at right there? Texas A&M probably could have had the argument to say, why aren't we number 1? We actually had the more difficult schedule to put this thing together. They probably have an argument to be number 1 or number 2 in this thing as Ohio State. And Indiana's probably going, why aren't we ahead of Ohio State? We beat Oregon at Autzen, another team that's in this conversation right now. So there are so many things that stand out to me, and I think that Utah sneakily being at that number 13, I say sneaky in the sense that they're not on the brackets that are, have that kind of like ultimate champion at the very end of it. But it's early, and if they keep winning out, they'll just kind of quietly sneak up. And what's the committee going to do? Make them go backward when they keep winning games? They're not going to. They've set a bar right here with 13 with Utah. And the only thing that's going to happen is teams like Virginia are going to lose, Mitch. Teams like even Georgia or Ole Miss or Notre Dame, cross your fingers that a team like I say cross your fingers because if you're looking at on the outside, if you're a Big 12 team and you're going, look, are they going to be able to get 2 teams in? The answer should be yes. But if Notre Dame loses a game, then the answer will be yes. And I think that's the case. And so the ACC looks a little bit weaker, I think, than people thought that it was going to be. And I think that you're going to sneak in 2 Big 12 teams. And right now, you have kind of 3 knocking at the door, to be honest.
You know what's interesting about these rankings, too, as you look at the college football playoff initial rankings. With Utah at 13, it's fascinating to me because BYU and Texas Tech, whoever loses that game, you feel like it has to default to be ahead of Utah. Because if Texas Tech loses to BYU, well, they've got the head-to-head on Utah. And if Utah, they're going to have a bye this weekend. So you got to think that at a minimum, or at the worst, Texas Tech is going to only fall, 3 spots at most, or maybe
11,
even
12. Yeah.
So,
where do they
so
go?
I feel like Utah being there as high as they are creates a situation where whoever loses this weekend between BYU and Texas Tech, it's not necessarily an elimination game. And I hope that's the case. Again, the playoff committee, they have this verbiage where they can say, we tear down the rankings and build it new every single week with new data.
They do
That's
not.
what they claim. But I think that was interesting to me, too. There were some other interesting tidbits. There was a teleconference, so a little bit inside baseball sort of concept here. After the committee reveals the rankings on ESPN, they then do a breakout with national media and local media. You can hop on this like old school teleconference and typically get the audio. We were obviously doing this show, so we don't have the audio yet, but we got the transcript. And some Big 12 specific questions were asked to Mack Rhoades, who is the Baylor AD. He is the college football selection committee chairman this year. That role has typically been Gary Barta, who Cougar fans remember years ago in COVID. Mack Rhoades was asked, why is Alabama ahead of teams like Ole Miss and BYU? And Mack Rhoades pointed to this. He said, when you look at resume, no one had a better stretch of 4 games. When you think about Alabama, really impressive. 2 of those wins on the road, going into Athens at Georgia, one of the hardest, toughest environments to be able to get a win out of there. Then he also brought up the Florida State discussion. Just felt like that 4-game stretch that Alabama won, historical in the SEC. Nobody has beaten 4 straight ranked teams without a bye. Then they also finished that out with a good win against South Carolina. So a lot of praise being given to Alabama for that stretch they had against teams that were ranked in the AP top 25, which is kind of the issue here I look at.
Yeah, when they go, ranked teams, you go, I thought you didn't care about other rankings. And by the way, them saying that they'll tear down all the rankings every week and kind of build them fresh, number one, that's a massive lie. There's no way these guys could ever have this conversation and have it be. They will absolutely start. But it's also this weird way for them, Mitch, and you know how it is, for them to be able to go, the conversation we had about, there's no way that they're going to have Utah go, ahead of these other teams. They'll do whatever they want. They'll put whatever the team they want to have in that spot ahead of where. And then guess what they do? They have people sit down and go, we're going to have to explain this whole thing with Ole Miss and BYU instead of Alabama. What do we say? I don't know. Tell them, go with do the whole ranking thing without buys. Do that one, right? Say that one. Hey, Craig, write this down. Like it's really unfortunate because we can see it coming. We can see it coming a freaking mile away, Mitch, every week.
Here's an interesting tidbit. I know we're up against. We'll get to a break here, but Mack Rhoades was asked specifically about Texas Tech. He had an interesting tidbit here. The loss at Arizona State without Baron Morton at quarterback, Arizona State wins that late. So we do talk about quality wins, but we also talk about quality losses.
Yes,
so
which
is considering that a quality loss.
It's a new thing this year, right? Yeah. They were told to consider, and not just quality losses, it's not to have games against people who are tough to play go that far against you. It's a little bit of the model we've seen out of college basketball, which, I don't want to go too far with it, but at the same time, I like that they at least brought that up as being a factor to say, hey, they lost a game that was a tough one, that you lose a game like that with a backup quarterback on the road, a ranked team, all those things. Anyway, we'll see. We'll come back. We've got more around the corner. Stay with us here on 1st and 12. We've got a week ahead of us. Oh, boy, it's a big one, too, so stay right here with us on KSL News Radio.